Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. And my eyes are full of light right now. So let's see if I could just adjust that. I didn't notice that before. Screw it. Whatever. It's fine. I got a wonderful show planned tonight. I got one of my favorite artists coming on that I know. I see him post stuff all the time. I just love looking at what he does. Great work, can draw really anything. And we're going to talk to him in one moment. But before I bring him on, first, hello, Dylan. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Second, I didn't bring anything close to me tonight again. I've had kind of a busy day, but don't forget, go on Amazon, look up Zorro's Exploits and Zorro's Sword Playing Romance from Bold Venture Press. I worked on both those books. Nothing close. Don't forget to go to akidinacomic.com. Not only can you find the Wiz there, but you can find one of my guest strips in there tonight. And, check out them. They have some great stuff. Make sure you get, a nice hard copy of a newspaper. Beautiful comics in there. And don't forget to go on Amazon and pick up The Whimsical Wiz, a new book coming out this year that collects this past year since I ended it. Let's get right to it. Let's bring on our guest. Let me find where my mouse is. And it is Matthew Hansel.
Hi, everybody. Hey,
Hi,
Mike.
Matt.
How are you
doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can't complain today.
I thank you for that wonderful introduction, for which I am not sure I'm worthy.
Oh, no. It's absolutely true.
Thank you.
I think if you go through your Facebook and Instagram feed, I might be the person who likes your work the most. I just love watching you there. I love watching it.
I forgot that we are both in a Kid in a Comic. And a new one of those should be coming out pretty soon too.
Yes, I believe issue 4.
Yes, I believe you're correct.
Well, not issue 4. It'd be issue. What is that? 10, I think. Right?
Yes, right.
Issue 10, because they started with 7 this year.
Yeah.
And I got to find out. I got to talk with John if the Wiz will continue, even though I ended it. Will he continue in the strip, or will he end? And maybe I'll, if he's interested, do something else. And because I'm working on some other ideas.
And it's a wonderful format.
I love it. I really, when I saw, because I'm friends with Tim Jones and J.M. DeSantis and a couple of other people who are in there, but like people I see at shows are like Tim Jones and J.M. DeSantis, who, if you guys watch the show regularly, you guys know them. When I saw it at their table, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And then one night, I had John on, and Jam was over my house. So he did the whole thing, and I'm like, I got to get in this, even if it's not the Wiz, I got to get in this paper because this looks so cool. And I'm happy he loved the Wiz. I'm happy that the Wiz is in there. I do have to send him a few new strips. I got to remember to do that.
I've got to do the same thing.
But it's a really great paper. It's something I think a lot of people should be checking out. If you're a comic strip fan, it should be in the hands of.
Oh yeah, I try to, when I'm at conventions and stuff like that, I try to show it to people. I wish I had a copy right here so I could show
you know what? I
don't. All of mine are with my conventions.
Let me see. Hold on. I just kind of redid a little. Oh, nope, that's regular paper. I thought it was. Sorry. I thought I had the envelopes here. These are them. I just redid the studio a little bit and moved some stuff around so I had easier places to sit. So which issue is this? This is issue 9, the most recent issue.
Oh, very cool.
So
there we go.
Yeah. And actually, on the back here, Thunder Guardian. This is what is his name? Riley Brown. He's someone I want to get on the show. This is an interesting story. It's his son created the character and the characters, and he talks with his son. They do the strip together.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to watch an interview with.
Yeah, I want to talk. And he has. I just recently found out he has a Domestika course on how to make comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was,
that's pretty cool.
I actually took it because I got a deal with a Domestika thing a while back, and I just had some classes to take, and I knew he was part of A Kid in a Comic when I saw that I'm like, and he was doing a Thunder Guardian page in there. So I'm like, I want to watch this.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was really, really cool. I mean, I didn't follow along or do. I'm actually looking for your strip and my strip. I didn't get to follow along and do it. I just wanted to watch the videos. I'm like, this is really cool.
It is fascinating to me to watch people take, particularly cartoonists, take their strip from inception to print. Yeah. There used to be on YouTube, but I think they all got pulled for copyright reasons or something. But there used to be a Japanese. Oh, there it is, Marty.
Yeah, I didn't even realize you're right above Thunder Guardian. I went through the whole thing just looking. You're on the back page.
I'm sorry. Above the fold back page too, not too bad. Yeah. But there was this Japanese documentary series, the name of which is escaping me at the moment, Pen 2 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But they recorded manga artists in their studios working on pages during the week. So it's like them, 15 hours a day drawing or whatever. I mean, they speed it up and what have you. But I always thought, man, that would be great for a Ken Burns, comics documentary or something like that, right?
Yeah. No, that is. I just speaking of that. I see the stuff you post, but do you read manga or watch anime? Because I don't see any influence of that.
I do not. I watch anime. I watched Attack on Titan and Death Note, and I'm forgetting Evangelion. The one with the mecha suits and the robots and whatnot. So I've seen a bunch of them, but it's not my thing. I'm more of a classics comic guy. But I admire those guys because they still use real tools. So a lot of tools that I use come from Japan. Yeah. Because they don't make them anywhere else anymore. And they're still working on paper and all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah. And comics are huge over there. They commuters on the trains and stuff will read comics and in these big phone book size, volumes or what have you.
And it's a lot cheaper over there too. I mean, the way the way they put together, because I'll watch manga, but I watch anime. I prefer to read manga.
Sure.
I prefer the stories in comic form than I do watching. But certain things, if I can't get my hands on, I will watch the anime. And I'll recommend one to you right now that you might like. It's a Viking story.
Oh, cool.
Okay, it's very obviously it's made up, but it has some historic pieces where you're like, wow, this kind of feels real when you watch it. But it's called the Vinland Saga.
Ooh.
It's on Netflix, I believe, translated into English.
Oh, okay.
Dubbed in, because on Amazon and the Crunchyroll app, it's I think it's in Hindu. I think that's what they said in India. There, it's dubbed.
Oh, okay. So it's from India. Oh, wow.
Well, no, I think it's from. It might be, and I don't know where it originated, but I'm saying it's dubbed. It says what it's dubbed into, the languages, and it's dubbed in Hindi.
Okay.
Whereas this on Netflix, it's English. I literally, there's 48 episodes right now. The next season comes out in 2026. Oh, wow. I literally watched the show in 2 weeks. It was that good. I just put it on in my spare time and watch it till 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, wow.
It was
wow.
Yeah. It was a really good show. Artwork is gorgeous. But I like the action. I love that time period. So
I will check that out.
Yeah.
That'll be right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I would love to check that out.
Yeah, no, and I think like the historic part, it's I think that might be up your alley too with the way it just everything just goes together. It just blends together nicely, and it's fun. Yeah, I watched that. I watched what is it? My Hero Academia. I watched.
I've heard a lot of good things about that, but I've not seen it.
You know what? Here's what I'll say. And I actually started rewatching it last night only because I just wanted to draw. I wanted some background noise on. And I'm like, I don't want something I need to pay attention to. So let me put on something I've watched before. And my wife was I was in the living room. My wife was there and she was like, yeah, put on an anime. And I said, I'll put on something you've never seen and something I don't care about. We watched the first 4 episodes and she was like, wow, this is actually a really good show, and then she's like, I think I can get into it. And
oh, wow.
It changed my outlook on superheroes. It really did. Almost like this is really what the X-Men should have been.
Okay. Okay.
About people learning how to use their powers and then having to go off and fight villains. And so I'm like, this feels more X-Men-ish to me than what the X-Men was,
Then everyone's an expert right out of the gate.
Basically, everyone knows how to use their powers, but it and don't get me wrong, I love the X-Men, but it's different, and and it's inspired me to, because I've always had manga influences in my work, and I never really noticed it until college. Because as a kid, I watched shows like Battle for the Planets.
Sure.
I grew up on Voltron. I grew up on all these things.
Yeah.
And when I was in like middle school, I was being made fun of for having this kind of anime influence.
Oh, wow.
And then I started studying more American cartoons and comics, and I started going the other way. But by the time I hit 10th grade, the anime boom happened in America here. And everyone was making fun of me for drawing, like out of comics, really, instead of,
anime,
the anime style. I'm like, screw you guys. Anyway, but later on in life, when I realized where my style was influenced from, and I kept going back, I'm like, growing up watching Transformers, G.I. Joe, all those shows were animated over there and have a certain look to them that it may not officially be anime, but it's there. There's pieces. That
Sunbow Studios, which did G.I. Joe and Transformers, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That, you're right, that has a huge influence on guys our age.
Yeah.
Because of that, right? That's what because we saw it every day after school.
Exactly. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to stay on the topic too long. I just enjoy the hell out of this stuff now. I read more manga. I'm reading Berserk right now. I just started that a couple of months ago. I'm in book 7, which if you like fantasy, like, violent fantasy, this is the book for you guys. I couldn't watch the anime. I tried the first episode, and the 3D-ness that they added to it just took me out of it. I'm like, no, if it was all 2D, I probably would have said, I don't need to read, I'll watch. But so that took me out of it. But anyway, this is a show about you tonight, and I want
it's a conversation.
Yes, I want to learn about you even more, because you haven't been on since like
Underdog, I think. Yeah.
And actually, speaking Underdog, that's a question I have for you. Which, we have someone, John Rose, who's a fantastic cartoonist, and
my friend John
on the show.
Yes, I remember that.
Let me pull it up. Quicker if I was on my computer, probably. Okay, so his question is, how did he get the job creating Underdog comics for American Mythology Comics? And then he says he draws an amazing Underdog, and he'll watch the video tomorrow. So he needs the answer now.
So how did I get the Underdog gig?
Yeah.
Well, that's a fun little story. So it was I have to try to remember my years. I think it was 2017 I noticed that for Free Comic Book Day, so it was around this time of year actually, the solicits for Free Comic Book Day were coming out, and I noticed that American Mythology had Underdog. That was their Free Comic Book Day thing, and I am the world's biggest Underdog fan. I love the guy. I grew up reading him and all that, or watching him and all that. But so I wanted to do Underdog, so I contacted Bill Galvin, who had done the cover, because I couldn't find contact information for American Mythology, or I didn't know anyone there or whatever. But I kind of sort of knew Bill through Archie Comics fandom. So I contacted Bill.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you say the name again? Bill who?
Galvin, Galvan. He works at Archie.
Okay, no, it's not the one. I knew another Bill who worked for Archie years ago.
Oh, Bill Gallagher, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know Bill.
yeah. Bill. Just a little side note. Bill and I took a college class together.
Really?
He went back to learn. I don't remember what it was. I was 18 and he was however old he was, but he came back to the school to learn a software, I guess, to work to do at Archie.
Oh, wow.
Or whatever. And so we were in class together and became very friendly. And then we lost, Yeah.
Okay. That's
but anyway,
cool though, that you got to meet him.
Yeah.
So I contacted Bill and sent him some samples, because I had done, I spent some time and did a 5-page Underdog sample, and sent that to Bill, and he liked it, and he said, well, let me talk to the editors at American Mythology and see what happens. So a couple weeks later, he contacted me to say that if I was interested, he had a 3-page coloring gig for me, coloring him and Bob Smith on Sherman and Peabody. Mr. Peabody and Sherman. And so I took that gig and colored that, and that put me in contact with Mike Wolfer, who was the editor at the time. And Mike then put me in the rotation of regular people for coloring and stuff like that. Well, then it happened that, for reasons that I'm still not sure, but the inking gig came open on Underdog, so Bill recommended me. And Mike asked me for some samples, so I sent him some samples. And he said, yeah, that'll be great. At almost the same time, I had been having a conversation with James Corrick, the publisher of American Mythology, about doing the Underdog 1975 special. And that came about because I had 8 pages of unpublished 10 pages of Underdog comic book that had never been published. They were from the 70s, and they were still in pencil form. And they're huge. They're drawn on 24 by 18 paper or something like that. I mean, they're gigantic. And American Mythology is interested in doing that. And my only unreasonable demand, if they wanted to publish the story, was that I got to ink and color it because it was still in pencil form. And they said, yes, that would be not unreasonable. And as it turns out, Underdog was drawn so off model, and so was everything else in those 10 pages. I ended up using them as just layouts, and I repenciled and re-inked the whole job. Wow. So that's the 75 special, even though it's really supposed to look like it was from 1975, they didn't want, for licensing reasons, DreamWorks didn't want Underdog to look like that. They wanted to look like Underdog. Yeah. So I ended up redoing the whole thing. But that's how I got the gig. It was kind of a 2-pronged thing. It was Bill really helping me out and get my name out there and stuff like that. And then also this other gig doing the 1975 special.
Nice. That's nice. Nice way.
And then Bill had to drop out for one reason or another. I forgot why. For Underdog and Pals #1, and Mike Wolfer asked me to do it, but it was a super tight deadline. I only had 10 days, I think, to do the whole thing or something.
Wow.
Like that.
How many pages for that?
15. I think it was.
Okay, that's
it wasn't
doable.
It wasn't too bad at all, but it was just kind of like. But the maddening part was it would take DreamWorks so long to approve the artwork that we did it really quickly. So we did it in that 10 days. I pencil inked and colored the whole thing. But then it took DreamWorks almost 6 months to approve the artwork.
My God. Yeah, I hear companies when you have to work with companies like that, it's always a time-consuming process.
It is. You have to not plan on doing monthly comics, or you have to have so many done in advance, because you're going to have these ridiculous delays. Yeah.
I almost tested for Disney years ago. And,
oh, really? Oh, wow.
I was talking, I forget, I think they're out of business now. It was Joe Books up in Canada or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And they had some Disney books, and I was talking to them I believe it was at a New York Comic-Con. I think it was their first New York Comic-Con, so they were kind of a new company. And I penciled a couple of pages, and before I continued, I showed it to one of the people that I had the name and said, "What do you think? I just want to make sure I'm on the right track. What do you?" And they're like, "Oh, no, this is good. I think Disney will like it, but no, Disney is going to destroy you." Oh, like they and I don't know if DreamWorks is like this. The from what I understand, Disney will look at the work, and even if it doesn't need changes, will ask you to make changes.
DreamWorks. DreamWorks would change characters in the background.
Oh, wow.
And here's a secret. Now, here's a dirty little comic book secret. 90% of my Underdog work is totally cribbed from the TV show. To prep for the gig, I watched every episode of Underdog on YouTube and took screen caps of everything. So I have 8,000 Underdog screen caps of backgrounds, cars, crowds, clouds, trees, birds, Underdog, Polly, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so when I needed reference for something, I would just go pull it up in my library, size it appropriately in Photoshop, print it off, light box it, and you're off to the races. There's a car or a fire truck or whatever that looks exactly like the show, because that's where it's from. It's right from the show, right? They still changed it. They said it wasn't on model.
Oh my God. It's
that's
funny.
That's how I knew and never took it personal when they wanted changes, because I'm like, they're just, urinating on it to make it their own.
It's funny. I once worked on a project where this person asked me if I could draw in this style. I said, let me try. And I kept sending, I sent some samples, and they're like, no, it doesn't look like him. I traced the guy's art and sent it to them. And the guy's like, no, it doesn't look like him. I just had to see, because I'm like, I thought I had
me? Am I doing something right?
And I showed it to my friend, who was very familiar with the art and knew the artist from years ago.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, it looks just like it. You're doing fine.
See, those are the kind of things that drive artists nuts, right? Because you're not sure, is it me? Are they having a bad day? Or what's going on?
Just quickly getting back to the Disney, I hear, companies like that, like they just want to see how much they can test you and push you to make sure that you're willing to do what's they want.
Necessary, right? Yeah.
And that's just all it is. It's like, how much can you take before you break and say, screw you, I'm done, and throw your hands up. And anyway, I ended up doing the project, and it was fine. It was.
Oh, that's cool. Very good.
I can't announce. It's not out yet.
Oh, it's not out yet. Oh,
so I can't
all right. Very cool.
But it was. When it comes out, I'll be happy to.
I'll interview you for that.
Go for it. Yeah. Well, let's totally do that. But I did have a question for you, because I know you drew the Underdog comic. I knew you're a big fan of Underdog. But what is about Underdog that you love so much?
Underdog, to me, in a weird way, represents I think, what superheroes can be. Not the property damage necessarily and that kind of stuff, but that purity, that doing the right thing, standing up against, just ridiculous odds, fighting even when you have no power left and might not even have a power pill left to take or anything like that. Just being the underdog, it speaks to me. That the three things that really forever influenced my approach to superheroes are Underdog, the Christopher Reeves Superman movie from '78, and Batman '66, as the kids would call it today. But the Adam West Batman is what I would say. And I'll also throw in the Ralph Bakshi Spider-Man animated series from '67. Those four things really, when I was a kid, were on a continuous loop in my head all the time. And so my definition of superheroes and what they do and how they act and all that kind of stuff comes from those places. Later on it gets added to with Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams and all those guys. But Underdog was the first one. And he's like the purest one. So he was the first one I encountered. So he's the yardstick.
That's interesting. Yeah. You're making me think who the first superhero I saw was, but I can't remember. Like, and this is something, I always talk about, like usually when I'm lecturing at schools or whatever, and I always tell people my first introduction to art is, and like for most people, it's going to be animation, it's going to be cartoons. Sure. Yeah. And for me, my earliest memories are the Hanna-Barbera characters, not just superheroes, but Peter Potamus, McGill Gorilla, Quick Draw, all those guys. And so for years, all I did was draw cartoon animals because I love those Hanna-Barbera animal characters so much.
And they're fantastic.
Yeah. And if I could, and there's a possibility I might, I've been wanting to do like an old style comic, like in the vein of the old Hanna-Barbera comics that they did, where it was, I don't know, they tell the silly stories and stuff, but just all animal characters of my own.
That would be great. Design.
But I want to do it in like a Hanna-Barbera style.
Yeah.
But then I got into the superheroes, but I think like the Super Friends might have been like my first introduction to superheroes.
Sure, and for guys our age, that's not at all uncommon.
Which is probably why I'm a huge DC guy, But me too. Batman, 66, all those things. Those are my influences on superheroes. Let me just say goodnight. Dylan is heading to bed. I'm sorry it's so late by you, but tune in and watch another time. We will totally. You can watch this at any time. That's the beauty of YouTube.
Yes, it is.
So have a good night, man. But thanks for watching. But yeah, no, that's that. I'm sorry, I'm just looking because sometimes people text me questions, so I just when it goes off. But yeah, no. Before we get into a few other things, I want to talk to you about, the way you work, because you're very traditional.
Mm-hmm.
You like to go traditional, and I'm actually in the process of going back traditionally.
Yes, we've been chatting behind the scenes.
and my thing is, I went digital for a few reasons. One, professionally, it was quicker, it was easier, and two, I'm always at, like, if I look down, I'm looking at my Cintiq here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always at the computer.
Yeah,
but I'm tired of staring into screens. I'd rather go back to staring into a light box, I guess. And no, but I went back, pulled out my dip pens, bought some new nibs that I needed, testing out different inks, different papers. Are you digital at all in your workflow?
Okay. I do. Underdog was actually done. Actually, all my work except for a few things at American Mythology was all done digitally, and that was at the request of DreamWorks and the publisher and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But after that, everything's been analog. But I use digital now for like if I was going to do Underdog now, because I have that, as I mentioned, library of thousands of images and stuff like that. I would assemble my thumbnails basically or under drawings digitally. I would get the assets and assemble them on a page digitally and print that out, and then I would lightbox that page, pencil over the top of it, and then ink it that way. So that would be digital would be done for layout purposes and things like that, and then any coloring I always do digitally.
Yeah, coloring is always going to be digital for me too. Mostly because I didn't think this. I'm colorblind, so I'd rather be able to choose my colors. Like I know CMYK how to mix. I actually I spent a few months working at Archie. And
really? Cool.
Back in, I think it was 2000, 2001, something like that. And part of my job was to lay the flats on the covers.
Oh, okay.
In Photoshop.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, now, I don't know if I ever said this on here, but the way I see green, it's more of an orange, like grass green.
Okay.
Looks more orange. I guess the I don't know, whatever it is, but the green and reds, I guess, confusion there. So like Archie gave me, and this is how I learned how to color. They gave me the CMYK that they use for grass and Archie's face. And,
right, because they have a model sheet for everything, right?
Exactly.
Those colors are very specific. Yeah.
So I just had to mix. Oh, this amount of cyan, this amount of yellow, and I have the grass green. And I would always just wait until it looked more orange to me.
And that's how spot on. Right?
Yeah. It's very interesting. So that's how I color now digitally is thanks to Archie.
That's like, really cool.
That's the way I color.
So do you still have their color swabs?
I have
their mixture recipes and stuff like that.
I have a photocopy somewhere. I don't know where it is. But one of the things I did was to learn. I took home a photocopy, and it's the characters, and it had what their colors are.
Yeah.
And then I would draw my own Archie characters, scan them in,
and
then color them and stuff. Yeah. And it was for me to practice. I never got a chance to bring it back before I was let go from the company. It was it's not something I talk about on air. It was a hard time at the Archie company at that time. But I wasn't upset that they let me go. I had one of the best, I guess if you want to call it, firings I've ever had. Victor Gorlick, who was the editor at the time, was one of the kindest people to me, and even offered for me to write and draw for Archie. I just wasn't basically allowed to be on I guess what campus on site there. But that had nothing that I did wrong. It was legal things with whatever, and
I know which era of Archie you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I never wrote or drew for them because I was just like, I got other things I could do. I need to figure out how to get a job and make money and pay my bills, instead of writing right now.
Right. Yeah.
And although I don't regret it, sometimes I think back like, oh, that could have been cool. I could have had a nice Archie portfolio, but
the reason I'd asked you about the color swatches, one of the secrets behind the Comics Kids is my base color palette for almost everything is DC Comics 1992 64 color set.
Really?
Yes, I found online somewhere years and years and years ago, someone digitized it. So it's, all their, red and flesh tone is YR2 and, all the color code stuff in digital format. So all my base coloring, I use that for and I find that's great because those, 32 or 64, whatever it is, colors, they don't limit you because you can always make, more brown or whatever based on those base colors, but it gives you an excellent place to start with colors that will reproduce well.
Yeah. No, that's a good. I'd have to see if I can find that online. That sounds pretty cool to check out. But I'm actually, since I'm going back to doing traditional stuff, I don't know how much color I plan on doing. This is how my mind went. If I want to sell comics, which I do, mm-hmm. but if I want to sell them, I got to make them the most cost effective for myself.
Sure.
Color always costs more. These days, it's not much more, but it's still more.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who are reading manga regularly and accept black and white work. And I could go in with hatching. I could go into something with Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop and add half tones to it.
Oh, every tone you can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, if I could just focus, and since color is my weakness, if I could just focus on giving a strong cover with good interior art,
sure. Even
if I do it in grayscale, I do think the comics will still sell.
I think that's great. And there's, among a certain readership demographic, even though they won't admit it, there's a tremendous, I won't say appetite, but familiarity with reading black and white comics because they grew up reading daily comics. They read the Phantom and Dick Tracy every day, exactly. And that was in black and white.
Exactly. Which I'm a big fan of those strips, and you're a big strip guy too.
Yes, I am. I'm such a big strip guy that I have become obsessed lately with this fella.
Hagar. Now, hold on. I'm going to give you the screen so you can show that
there you go.
well. Let me tell you, I am a huge Hagar fan. I will show you something real quick. This sits on my drawing table on one of my little containers. Let's get in the camera. I got.
That is so awesome. That is great. Where did you get that?
You know what? I don't remember. This might have been. I've literally had this for years. This might have been at Universal Studios many years ago when I went.
Oh, sure, right at the they've got the comic. Yeah.
That was probably my first time going to Universal was in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
So I probably got that and had it since the 90s.
Oh, wow.
I also have a Woody Woodpecker.
Oh, nice.
Which I don't think is in the room right now. I change up my little figures here and there.
Yeah.
But I have Woody. I got a few things from there that was whatever cartoon Universal had at the time. I picked up a little figure.
Yeah, that's really cool. That is awesome.
But yeah, no, he's one of my all-time favorites. Him, Beetle Bailey, who I have a figure of over there as well. I love the. I was always attracted to the clean line kind of Mort Walker. Mm-hmm. And though when you look at like Dick's work, it in Hagar, it's not as clean,
right?
But there's still this beauty to it that it almost looks clean, like he did it on purpose.
Dick was he came from a place called Johnston and Cushing in New York City, mm-hmm. And Johnston and Cushing was a huge advertising place, and they had all the big accounts. They had Boys Life. They had the Scout magazine, which I'm forgetting the name of at the moment. But they had all these big high-end slick accounts, and they had guys like Dick Brown drawing comic strips for them. So that's where he developed that slick style. Mm-hmm. And when time came for Mort Walker to create or co-create High and Lois, he needed a cartoonist. And he and his editor both thought of Dick Brown at the same time and didn't tell each other. until they were at this meeting, and then they said, well, I've got a cartoonist, you're going to love him. And and they both at the same time say Dick Brown. And so Dick co-creates with Mort Walker High and Lois, which is, of course, the Beetle Bailey sister strip. And then in 1973 creates Hagar. But he comes out of that advertising background, which is why even when he's doing it messy, like on Hagar, it still looks clean, right? It's a very neat, messy. And a big part of Hagar, especially later on in Dick's run and through most of his son's run, Chris Brown's run, Dick Hodgins was the guy that was doing the inking and the lettering. And so he really could nail that kind of Dick Brown advertising line. Interestingly enough, Johnston and Cushing, where Dick Brown came from, is also the same advertising studio that gave us, believe it or not, Neil Adams.
Really? I didn't know.
That is where Neil. That's where Neil started. I can never remember if it's before or after he did Ben Casey. I think it's after Ben Casey. But he learned from guys like Elmer Wexler and I'm forgetting the other guy's name, but they were the big advertising guys, and that's where he learned photo reference and how to trace photographs and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, I just think it's two cartoonists who have a huge influence on my life, and they both come from the same advertising studio.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, I've met Neil a handful of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never showed him my work, so I know how scary he was to show work to.
I did, believe it or not. I showed him my work.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to give me $20 to not look at it. Or maybe it was 50. It was like 50 or 100, maybe it was 100. I don't even remember, but it was some amount, like a not insignificant amount to not look at it. And I said, what? And he's like, oh yeah, if I would rather not look at it, so here's $50 or whatever it was to not do it. And I said, well, I really want your opinion. He's like, all right. And as it turns out, he wouldn't comment on it because it was Underdog, and he goes, this is wonderful, and this isn't really what I do, so I think it's wonderful, and he sent me on my way.
It is funny. He gave me a compliment once too, because I was at a show and he was like across from me. I was in a kids section.
Oh, cool.
And the way it was set up was we probably had a good maybe 30 feet between us, and during the slow times, he would just go, "Hey, Michael," and because he never remembered who I was, but that day, like, he learned my name, and he'd be like, "Hey, Michael," and he would just tell me a joke, and I wish I remembered them. They were some of the funniest things because I didn't picture Neil like that. You always know Neil as he's a little terrifying to talk to. And he's just
right, because there's all these urban legends, right, about he ripped my portfolio apart, and everyone that went to continuity in the 70s, like Howard Chaykin and Frank Miller and all those guys, and they all have these horror stories of showing Neil their portfolios, and so you're definitely within a right mind to think it's terrifying to go do that.
Well,
he's Neil Adams, right?
Yeah. I remember going up with one of my friends once, and my friend got ripped a new one by him, and he turns to me and goes, "You have a portfolio?" Nope. No.
Nope. No.
But at that show, he did get up and look, and I had these silly little, humor things. I had this little thing I used to do called stick figures, and it was a stick. That's all it was. It was a stick, and I'd write little silly jokes and put him in silly situations, and he just kind of chuckled and said, "That's cute," or whatever to me, and I'm like, and that to me, that's a compliment. I took it.
That is.
I don't remember if it was "that's cute." I don't, but it was a nice piece. It was like, "Oh, that's nice," or "That's funny," whatever it was. It was just simple.
Yep.
And
that's good enough, right? That's all you want. That's all you need.
Yeah. But Neil. But I do wish I talked to him more, because the first couple of times I saw him at a show, I was like, no. Also, because I'm a fan, it was like I was fanboying out in my head.
that was the first time I met him. Was it obviously at a convention, and I didn't want to ask him a stupid question that had been asked 20 million times, right? Like, what kind of pen do you use? You know, you don't want to ask him, even though you really do want to ask him that, but you don't want to. And I don't even remember what I asked him, but he, every time I met him after that, he always talked first, but he always had a joke or an observation or something like that about that would put everyone at ease, and then you could have a normal conversation with him about whatever. He told me a fantastic story about Dick Giordano one time. And another time he told me an even funnier story about teaching at the Joe Kubert School and how none of them could draw tree bark. And he was very upset by that because he goes, guys, go look out the window. there's a dozen different kinds of trees. Go draw the bark.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh, man. But speaking about fanboying out, I got to show you a photo I have of me and probably my all-time favorite cartoonist, and I'm sure you know who it is. But that is the dumbest smile on my face.
He is my favorite cartoon. That is. How is the Maestro Sergio?
Yes, and that is this. It's hard to see it. I'm not holding the picture.
Do you have a piece of art or a sketch there?
Yeah, that's a piece of art of his. It's hold on. I don't know if you can see it in here how it's going to work out, but right there.
Oh yeah.
It's Gru with the minstrel. I'm trying to hold it so you can see it better. There's a little colored pencil of a dragon up there on the minstrel's lute, and that was the nicest. I'll tell you, one of the nicest things he did. He had that priced at, I think, like 175 or 200. He gave it to me for 125 after talking with him, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, I've never seen him make a deal and this wasn't my first time meeting him, Yeah. But yeah, no, he gave it to me for 125, and I also have a signed Gru hat, which I can't get to the camera right now, and I have something else of Gru signed. And there was one year I donated, I think, was it the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund or whatever? Mm-hmm. And they sent me a little card for it, and it was a Gru card.
Oh, cool!
And it's so faded. I don't know how it faded. It just must have been from storage. But I keep it somewhere over. It's somewhere over there. I have a Gru figure over there as well.
Sergio is fantastic. He's one of my. I don't know if it always comes through or not, but he is one of my big influences. I have an entire collection of fountain pens that I use to ink with because of Sergio.
I started fountain pens, but I don't have a fountain pen like him.
I have the Pelican M200s or whatever they are. I forget the number. That I fill with carbon platinum ink nowadays. Yeah, that's because that's what Sergio uses. And it's a fantastic tool to use. Actually, all of the entire Marty and Spud story for Kid in a Comic is being done with the fountain pens.
Really? Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
That was the challenge I gave myself for that story, was to ink it with a fountain pen.
No, that's cool. I'll have to look more into that and see, where did I put it.
I haven't quite got the flex out of it that I want, but it's getting there.
Yeah. No, I'll have to take a look at it and just see the lines on here. I read the joke, like the story, and then sometimes I'm not paying attention to the artwork as much as I should. But this is. Yeah, I don't know. I'll sidetrack. I still have to read that issue fully. But yeah, no, that's a great piece. Now, you've been doing a lot of, and I'll show it on here. Sure. You sent me some work, and where is it? Right here. So you sent me some work here, and this is you doing the pencils, the inks. Are you writing the jokes too?
Yes. These are samples that I did for the Brown family, and these are everything is me: pencils, letters, and inks, and the gags. These I did last February, March, so about a year ago. And I did them to show the Browns, and for a variety of reasons, I didn't get to show them to the Browns until much later in the year. But that has maybe worked out into an offer of some job working.
Well, first of all, I will say maybe congratulations. Then.
Okay. I can't say anything official or anything like that.
No, I understand. But that's great. Now, let me ask you, when you looked at Hagar and you're drawing Hagar,
yeah,
are you drawing him more the Dick Brown or the Chris Brown version? There's a slight...
There's a slight difference, and I actually cheat and split the difference between the two of them, because I really go for the Dick Hodgins version of Hagar.
Okay.
And Dick inked both Chris and Dick, his dad, father and son. And so going for the Hodgins version which is basically the Dick Brown version. It is something that I aspire for, because that picks up elements of both Chris and Dick, and is a fine way to honor both of them.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. I love it a lot.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Now here's a Batman.
Yeah, I may or may not be doing stuff with those with people associated with that.
Yeah, it's funny. I look. And is this all? I mean, was this a?
That's based on a Neil Adams sketch.
So it's based on a drawing. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because when I look right here, and this is only artists will probably see this, but when I look at this piece of the arm, it really looks like it comes out of like a Bridgman book of anatomy.
Yes. Yes, it does. It does. No, I have been doing a lot of studying of Neil pieces, and I've been doing a lot of recreations of them as part of that. And two things that are inescapable once you spend a lot of time with Neil Adams' artwork is Bridgman, and you're absolutely right. That arm is totally out of a Bridgman book. I would not be surprised if I went and looked in it and found that Neil actually just borrowed it. But Bridgman for sure. And most of the time when you're drawing women, Neil's women were all looked like they were drawn by Stan Drake, from the cartoonist of The Heart of Julia Jones.
Okay.
And that isn't really a big surprise, because Stan Drake, Mort Drucker, and Joe Kubert were Neil's three big influences.
Yeah.
But I never realized how much his women were really just Stan Drake women.
I'm gonna have to go look at those now and see.
Look up, and you can get them fairly reasonably. The Heart of Juliet Jones, the comic strip, is fantastic. It's an old soap opera comic strip, and it's beautiful artwork.
Wow.
So I would definitely go check that out. And then Stan Drake also drew Blondie for many years later on.
Okay.
Which is how most people know him.
Yeah, I think the name sounded familiar to me. So I've been looking a lot lately at Hal Foster.
Oh yes,
I'm a huge Tarzan fan, but
yes.
I mean, I love Prince Valiant.
And those Prince Valiants were drawn huge. Those originals are like 3 by 4 feet or something like that. I mean, they're huge.
Yeah, my birthday is next month. I've been hinting to my wife since Christmas to go look on my Amazon wish list for all the Prince Valiant books.
And most of them are still in print these days, aren't they?
Yeah,
you can get them pretty easily.
Last time I looked, volumes 1 and 3 for the. I mean, they were only like Sundays there, but volumes 1 through 3 I think was $80.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, I'm like,
no, that's.
I'm like, if that may happen sooner than my birthday. It just might be one of those things where it's like, I got to. I gotta get it. But yeah, no, I've been looking at his, and I'm just loving it. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos where people are studying his work. Like I've been watching people, it's just I spent the majority of last year kind of relearning the craft in a way. Sure. I don't want to say, I was drawing the Wiz, but I have so many other ideas, and I felt like, which is why I ended the Wiz. But I felt like there was so many things I want to do, but I want to invoke the feel of certain artists when I'm doing certain things. So, and Hal's a big. I'll never draw like Hal. I'll be honest. Let's.
But you don't have to draw like him, but you can be influenced by design and the expansiveness of his worlds and that kind of stuff.
I actually had a friend who I did not tell I was looking at Hal's work. He told me, he goes, your work's starting to look a lot like Hal Foster's lately.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the best kind of compliment you can get.
I was like, wow, that's really cool. I said, you don't know what that means to me because of what's it called? How much I've been looking at him. But I've been, also look at Alex Raymond. I look at all the old story artists there. I've been studying. This is fantastic. Let me ask, because you're going traditionally again. You're actually inking with the same inking pen that or nib that the strip has been inked in, so it doesn't look different. Correct?
Correct. I found out that Dick Brown and Chris and Dick Hodgins, all three of them, used the Gillette 170 pen nib. So I got myself some. I found a place I think it's in Kentucky, that makes them, and ordered up a whole bunch of them and taught myself how to ink with them. Kind of. Yeah. It's kind of like inking with a brush, but a brush that's made out of steel. And once you get the hang of it, and it takes a lot of practice, it's very temperamental, but once you get the hang of it, the satisfaction, the line work that you can get from it, you can get the razor thinnest little line, and you get a big fat line all out of the same tool. So I inked all of my samples with that, and lettered with a C5 lettering nib, or C6, I forget, because that's what Dick used to do the lettering, and then filled in the black areas just with a little, watercolor brush.
I wanted to ask if you ever seen this book. I bought this book off eBay. I couldn't even tell you how many years ago. It might have been like in the first few years of eBay.
Oh wow.
And I used to, I don't really do it too much anymore, mostly because of room, but I used to collect cartooning books, like How to Cartoon, and I'd look for the old ones. Have you ever seen this one?
Yes.
Okay.
That book, when I was a kid, our local library had that book. And I remember the first time I checked it out, because in it are actual samples, like real size samples of like Milton Caniff and
Speaking of Milton Caniff,
there you go.
Just opened it.
And it blew my mind how big these guys drew and how big those originals were, because I had been suffering away and trying to draw real small, and how do you get the pens and all that stuff to do it. And then you realize, well, it's because you're drawing huge. You're drawing 5 by 16 or whatever. That was a game changer for me, and that book is forever influential on me, because it has Schultz in there. It's got Walker. It's got Brown.
Everybody.
The only person they don't have from that era is Chester Gould. And that's because Chet was a little bit of a crank and wouldn't do stuff like that. But
one of the things I do like in here, though, is even before, like here, this is a Hunt's. 5,
oh right,
and they explain what the different pen nibs are.
What they all different do,
And hold on, David Aberve has he says, "Hey guys, my favorite is a Hunt's 107. Just learned the lighter trick." Oh, it's funny.
Oh, I've been to get the vegetable oil off. Right? Yeah, you just either wipe it off real good or just run a lighter, but don't hold the lighter under it too much, because you'll melt the nib.
You know what I started doing, and I find that I get a better line? I actually do the burn right before I use it now, anytime.
Every time, really?
Yeah, because here's the thing. I was watching some videos because I started learning how to use that stuff probably, it was middle school, so probably 7th, 8th grade. There was a cartoonist who lived a couple of towns over from me. And he used to have art classes in his basement on weekends, and have adults in the afternoon and whatever. So he'd have all these different stations set up. But I was the only one who really wanted to learn cartooning. So he's like, go out and get the speedball set that they used to have, and and he taught me how to ink. And the Hunts 107 actually was one of my favorites, and I used that, into my 20s, and then I kind of was in and out of the industry. But then I moved over like to microns and stuff because of the speed, the cheap. I could do it on the go, whatever. Eventually moved over digital, brush pens, the whole thing. But I really missed it, so I'm like, let me just watch some videos and do some reading on it, just brush up my memory, my skills. And there was a calligrapher I watched, and she does it right before she uses it every time, because she's like the oils from my hand. And because you're touching it and you're putting, so unless you're using like a glove or whatever, you should do it every time. So I started doing it this weekend just practicing. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm getting a better flow.
I'm gonna have to give that a try.
Yeah, but you can't do it but you can't do it so much that you destroy the nib. Or,
right.
So it's got to be really just kind of quick.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I'll have to give that a try.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
And that was from a calligrapher. You said you learned that.
Yeah,
that's fascinating. That's great.
Yeah, I typed in YouTube like a certain dip pen or something, like a certain nib.
Yeah,
and it was a calligrapher came up and just talked about that's how she does it. And I was like, okay.
To expand on Dave's point a little bit, the 107 is that, and the 102 are the longtime industry standards in the comic book industry, right? I mean, everybody, especially in the 90s with the image style, the 107 was a real workhorse for guys like Scott Williams and Mark Silvestri and stuff like that.
Yeah. The 102 I used a lot too. That was
I can never remember which one is stiffer. Is the 107 stiffer or the 102?
I think the 102 is considered the most flexible.
Okay, so the 7 must be stiffer.
The 7 was a little stiffer.
Because one of them, and I don't remember which one, on Hagar to do the little hatch marks and stuff like that. It's either a 102 or a 107. It has so much ink on it, I can't read it anymore. But it's a good pen nib, whatever it is. And it's either a 102 or a 107. I know that much. So I use it quite a bit.
And just out of curiosity, since David brought up the pen, when you clean your pens afterwards, what are you using?
Just tap water. I just rinse them out in water, and then every couple of days I'll wash them off with just a little bit of liquid soap, like hand soap or something like that, or not hand soap, dish soap, like Dawn.
Dish soap, yeah. I'll do that.
Just a little bit of that. It's the same thing every day when I clean my brushes. It's the same thing. Just put a little swab in your hand, and then twirl them around and all that kind of fun stuff.
I do the dish soap somewhat regularly, but I also occasionally use rubbing alcohol.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, but and the guy, when I studied with the guy in middle school, he's the one who told me about like the alcohol.
Oh,
we didn't do unless he set up the pens. David uses blue ink cleaner. It works really well. I've used that stuff in the past, but the ink cleaner, isn't that like $20+ for a small bottle? I can get a thing of rubbing alcohol for $5. That's huge. That's why I don't buy the ink cleaners anymore. I'm like, the dish soap or a little rubbing alcohol, works fine as long as you're not putting too much on to
Yeah,
destroy the nib.
Like the dish soap is, don't use too much of it. It's perfectly fine for your brush. It won't eat away at it or anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't use the rubbing alcohol on brushes.
Yeah,
only,
no. Yeah, no.
Only
Please,
on the
people,
pens.
Don't use rubbing alcohol in your brushes. Don't do it.
Yeah,
that's what the soap is for.
But yeah, no. I have found myself being angry during the day at work because I work from home. Mm-hmm. My drawing table's literally right next to me, and
so the
and
itch
it's
is
like
always there.
all I want to do is just move over and pick up some ink and start inking, and I'm like, no, I got to be here at the computer. I got to do this. I got to do it, and it's just like, and then after the day, I'll get in here, 9 o'clock and be in here till maybe 1 a.m. and just having fun. I actually, is this video? I don't have a drawing on here, but I set up one of my of my clipboards, and then this is my test. I was just testing it. I recently, because I'm trying a bunch of inks. Now you recommended the carbon ink. Yeah, the platinum, which is great, but I had issues with the paper until I got the Canson paper, which this is, by the way, it's 9x12.
Is that
But this ink actually is, I decided to try deleter ink.
Oh, that's supposed to actually be pretty good too.
It dries so damn quickly.
Oh, does it really?
It is so amazing at how fast it dries. I picked up a bottle for I think like $5 or $6 on Amazon. And I'm like, let me give it a try. I bought the number 6 because it's supposed to be one of the darkest. And, you can see it's kind of got a matte finish.
Okay, yeah.
So I didn't want like a big glossy finish or anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that stuff is really good.
But man, does it dry?
It dry. Like I put my hand out. I'm like, oh crap, I messed up. And I put my hand away. No, it was like within a minute. It felt
wow.
It was
okay.
I'd say a minute or two. It's not a heavy, but it's a small bottle, but it will last. I've also played with Sumi ink because I used to use that a little bit.
There's tons of different Sumi inks these days.
Yeah. And the platinum ink over there. I'm actually this is a really cool thing. I got to show you this. A few months ago, I got a new iPhone, and my casing, the casing it came in, is now my ink holder.
There you go.
On my table.
Nice. Very nice.
Where's the camera?
I might actually steal that idea from you.
The Sumi ink I have right here fits perfectly in the square part.
Nice.
And then I just, in the round part, put the lid. And if I'm using this one, I put it in the hole so it's deeper.
I might steal that from you.
I think it's freaking great.
You should send that to Apple. They'll probably try to market that or something like that.
If they're watching, I just need a little cut, man. Little percentage.
Just a taste, that's all.
Yeah, just a taste. I'm not looking for a lot.
Right. You're a reasonable person.
Yeah, just enough to let me draw for the rest of my life.
Yeah. That's not too much to ask.
Well, stealing the phone box idea, Michael. He says stealing the phone box idea.
Oh.
Listen, I showed it as an educator. I'm happy to share my knowledge with the world.
This is a Creative Commons license on this show, so it's all good.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Exactly. Now I see you holding a lot of pens. Anything there you want to talk about?
Yeah, these are.
Let me give you the screen so you can hold it up better.
In doing some of the Neil Adams pieces that you had shown before, I know what Neil was inking with during those times, so I use those tools to do those pieces. So we have, to fill in the big black areas, just a Faber-Castell big brush. So it's just a big brush with a big nib, and it fills in black areas, and it's nice and black ink. And then Neil, one of his favorite tools ever was the Pentel disposable fountain pen.
Okay.
In America, this is known as the Pentel Stylo, but it's the same thing as the fountain pen. But it's a disposable pen, and it's got a very, I don't know how well you can see it, but a very fine nib on it. And you can get, depending on what kind of paper you're using, you can get a really fine line or you can get a really thick line, depending on pressure and all that. So Neil used that a lot for cross-hatching and things like that. And then the main tool that he used, especially the last 7 or 8 years, are these Kurtaki disposable brush pens.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah.
And this is the darker blue one. There's 2 of them. There's this darker blue one, and then this kind of, I don't know what, greener, seafoam green, whatever color. But Neil mostly used this royal blue one, or darker blue one. And so those are what I use to try to really replicate his line when I'm doing pieces like that. And so that's just what I had in my hand while I've been talking to you.
That's good. No, that's fine. They did great. I love that you really try to go for the authenticity of the artist that you're trying to replicate.
Yeah, to me, it's a little bit like being an actor. You get ready to take on a role, and so you want to do it as authentically as possible if you're going to be the next, James Bond or Indiana Jones or whatever. And so you want to get in that headspace, and you want to use those tools if you can to try to bring that kind of authenticity.
Yeah, no, that's great. And listen, I want to see like your work. Now, I told you even before we went on the air that I want to see you stream more. Yeah. I want to see you put out on Instagram. And I know you did it on Facebook too, but you also shared on Instagram you inking a Hagar strip.
Yep.
And I don't think you ever finished posting.
No, I need to finish posting. I have the video. I just have to upload it.
And I gotta say, watching you work is one of my favorite things to do. I tend to watch. I literally watched that video a few times on Facebook. Like I'm going to say at least 5 or 6 of those views per video are me. And it's what it is I spend a lot of my spare time or my background time just listening to artists talk or having them draw something to readjust my eyes from what I'm looking at. Sometimes it's just great to hear artists talk about their process while they're doing it. I want to hear yours more. I want to see you be doing this.
You're not alone. I've heard from actually quite a few people that would like me to do that more. So I am currently trying to figure out how to do get a rig set up and all that kind of stuff, so that I can talk and draw. I want to try to get super fancy at some point so that I can toggle between a face camera and a drawing board camera.
Well, I'll tell you right now, just to turn this, because this is a webcam I'm using.
Okay, yeah.
Over my drawing table, I just want to get the light out of the way. I have another webcam there.
Oh.
So you just have to get a system where and if you use OBS, you could set up both webcams.
Oh, okay.
As cameras. I mean, it would have to be you'd have to be figuring out. But if I wanted to, I don't even know. Do I have things you can see there? Doesn't really matter. But if I was to right now go into my settings, go to my camera, and change it over there. Give it a second. Oh, I might have closed that one has a thing to close on.
But it's that simple though that if it's turned on, you just click on it and it.
Yeah, I don't know why the camera's not going on now. Did I close it up? Yeah, now I
closed. Oh, it looks like it's trying to.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see if it opens up here. I'm having a little issue for some reason right now. I don't use it on. Let me just hit the plug one more time. I have a little issue with this sometimes with StreamYard. When I have it set up on OBS, I don't have an issue. Let me just do it one more time. Oh, hold on. Okay, for some reason that's not working. I'll go back to here. And let's do it. I see what happened. All right. Settings. For some reason, it shut off my camera.
Oh, no.
So.
There you go.
There it is. So there's a little doodle I was doing the other day.
Oh, very cool.
So, yeah. So you can see here, just drawing some stuff. If I can get paper up. What's this here? Just some guy. So yeah, like I've been trying to get ready to record some pieces.
I will have to get something like that because that looks perfect, and that just fits like right underneath your light, almost, right?
I'm sorry, what'd you say? With my light?
The camera, does it fit like right underneath your table lamp?
Well, yeah, I have a. Let me switch back. But I have an arm that's connected to a shelf.
Oh, okay, that's how you have it suspended over the board. Okay.
So I have when I switch back here, settings. I'm gonna have to turn that light around so you can see me again because now I'm all in the dark. But yeah, if I go to it and just so you can see it with the light,
yeah,
you could see all my Superman.
Oh, cool.
But I got an arm.
Oh, I see.
That just goes down.
Right. Yeah.
To there.
Oh, right. Very cool.
Yeah, and this one's not on an arm right now. It's on a Christmas ornament box. To keep it on.
Whatever works, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no, an easy setup like that, you get a simple lighting thing and a microphone.
Get one of those. What do they call them? O-ring lights or something like that.
That's what I have. I have the ring lights.
Yeah, or ring light. That's what it's called.
For some reason, only one is working. Right now, so. But let's see. David says, what did he say here? The Pilot, how do you say that? Shunpinsu pocket brush pen, double-sided.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. I've used.
I do
before.
too.
I think that actually very nice.
Yeah. Is that the pen you showed me at a show, David? You had the, I think it had a gray tip on one side, or is that another one I'm thinking of? I don't remember. Let me know.
I think they make one that has a gray ink in it.
Yeah, there was one that he used at a show that he had. It was black on one side, gray on the other.
Nice.
Yeah. By the way, we've hit over an hour. I know you said around an hour. Are you okay going longer, or do you want to end? And
if we can end, that would be okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Then, if you want, we can pick this up at another time. I'd be happy to come back.
I would totally love for you to come back. Hold on, what does he say real quick about the pen? He says, no, this one's only black ink. The one with the gray is discontinued.
Oh, okay. That's too bad.
Well, next time I see you, show me the pen. I'd love to see it if I don't have a copy. I have so many pens, I don't even know what I have anymore. I have a whole drawer full.
We all do.
I have like 5 or 6 pens I keep in my pack that's in the other room right now. But yeah, so let's wrap up. I feel we haven't even scratched the surface on what we could talk about here.
No, we have not.
And next time I would love if next time we could do a small demo of you working a little bit.
Well, we will figure out how to make that happen.
Like I said, I'm such a fan of what you do. I would love to see it. I will work with you, and we will figure out how to make that happen. Awesome.
I would love to have that happen for you and for the audience and whatnot.
And before we go, where is it? Just a couple of quick announcements, and I'm looking for something for me here. First off, in a couple of in February, we're going to have Wayward Raven back on the show. In I think it's next week, they said, or the 1st or February 1st. I don't remember. They're starting a Kickstarter for their second volume of We Suck at Comics, which I'm part of. Oh, and cool. I will agree that at least I suck at comics in this. No. It's actually a story I drew many years ago. There's spot illustrations, and there is a piece in there of, to this day, I still love, and I don't really love my work after it's done. But my friend Bob Sidaro wrote a story that was for, I believe it was for Earth Day. And I drew the illustrations of like a Native American and some nature and stuff. And there's this tree drawing that I really loved. Neil may have been proud. Who knows? I used to love drawing trees. So this is one of the few things that that I'm still happy with. But yeah, that's coming up. But next week we have Fugitive Poems. So if you guys don't remember, it's Christian DiMatteo, it is James Lyons, and they're bringing on 2 other people who worked on a new comic that you got to just see. Remember, it's not kid friendly, so it is definitely for the 18, maybe 17 up. We'll go with the R rating. I don't know if it's worse than that right now. But they're fantastic creators. They do great books. So they'll be on next week. So make sure you tune into that. And with that, I want to thank everybody for watching. David says, good night, guys. Great hearing from you, Matt.
Yes, good night, Dave.
Follow Matt. It's just his name on Instagram.
Yep.
Correct? Or is it Matt Hansel?
It's Matthew. No, it's Matthew Hansel.
Matthew Hansel. Sorry, yep. Matthew Hansel on Instagram. Please go follow him if you don't already, and check out his work.
Thank you very much. Really I appreciate the plug. I appreciate the time. This has been fantastic.
Oh, anytime. You're welcome back anytime. Had a lot of fun.
We will do it again because, like you said, we haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone. I'll see you soon. All right.
Bye, everyone.